Hey, what's up everybody? Jack here with devslopes.com. Welcome back to our API course. And today we're going to continue on with deploying our API to DigitalOcean. So the first thing we've got to do is spin up a droplet. And a droplet is DigitalOcean's term for a virtual private server. So in order to do this, we need to go ahead and pull up a web browser here. And we need to just go to digitalocean.com. And when you get to the home page here, you can create a new account. And I've already got one created. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to walk through the process of that. But you just need to click the sign up button up here and enter your information and create a new account. Now, to spin up a droplet, you're going to need to enter a credit card or a PayPal account. They're not free. The smallest tier is like $5 a month. $5 a month is pretty cheap for a virtual private server. That's what we're going to be using here. And then you can spend more if you need more capacity. But anyway, so I've already got an account set up. I'm going to leave those details alone. It's pretty straightforward, like I said. If you have any issues, you can come over to Discord or something, or in the Udemy Q&A and ask a question about it, and I'll be glad to help out, or one of the other students will. So anyway, now that I've got my account set up, I'm going to click log in, and it's going to take me into my dashboard. And it's pretty straightforward. We just need to create a droplet. So I'm going to click create droplet, and then it's going to ask us what kind of image we want to install. Now me, I'm familiar with several versions of Linux, but Ubuntu is probably the one I've used the most. So I'm going to leave it on Ubuntu 16.04. And then for choose a size, I'm just going to choose the small one here. And the small one is one CPU, 512 megabyte. And it's pretty robust for just $5 a month. And you get a terabyte of transfer with that. I mean, unless you're doing, this is just going to be kind of my personal hobby domain setup, API setup. So unless you get to be real big with a lot of traffic, this $5 a month tier will handle quite a bit. So I'm going to select that one. And one thing about DigitalOcean is if you grow, so if you create an app and you start off with a $5 or $10 a month plan, as you grow and your app starts to make more and more money, you can up these very easily. You just come in here and it's basically a slider you just increase. I'm not going to add any block storage. And I'm going to set my server. And I'm in Missouri, which is a little bit closer to New York than San Francisco. So I'm just going to accept the default, or what it suggested was New York 3. If you live in a different country or on the West Coast or something, you can choose a different data center. Additional options, we don't need any of this here. And I'm not going to add this. This is my MacBook key here. And then finalize and create. How many droplets? We just want one, and give it a host name. I'll just leave the host name as the default here. And then I'm going to hit create. And it takes just a minute, and you see here we've got a progress bar. It's spinning up our droplet, and then it'll let us know here in just a second when it's done. Okay, so our droplet is done. We've spun it up, and now it says go change the world, and this is our IP address right here. So this is my public facing IP for my droplet, and I can click copy here. Now you may want to write this down somewhere or put it in your notes. You can always come back to the control panel here to get this IP address. But I'm going to go ahead and click copy. And then I'm going to pull up. Let's see, actually, I'm going to search here. And then one thing that's great about DigitalOcean is they've got a ton of help resources out there. Let's see. So I'm going to start typing a Google search here. And I'm going to type DigitalOcean, all one word, and then initial setup. 16.04 and hit enter. And you see here we get initial server set up with Ubuntu 16.04 from DigitalOcean. Now I've got a lot of experience with Linux servers, but there's so much to keep up with that sometimes it's helpful to you know at least have one of these guides up here to go by, because there's a lot of steps to go through. So it says right here, log into your server. You'll need to know the server's public IP, which we do. You'll also need to know the password if you installed an SSH key, which I did not. Now the root login, when you first set it up, they will send you an email. And let's see here. They will send you an email that looks something like this. And it'll have your droplet name, IP address, username, and password. So we need to copy that password. And then all we've got to do is pull up a terminal. And we can say SSH and then root at and then paste that in. Or I'm sorry, we got to paste the IP address in, which is 159.203.135.211. Okay. And then you can paste your password in. Okay, so this is our SSH login to our server, to our droplet. And the very first time you log in, it's going to ask you to change your root password. So I'm going to do that. All right, so we've got our password changed. If I exit and then go back to it. Okay, and now we're back in. So I've got my root password changed. That's step number one. And if you ever forget your password or something, you can come back to your dashboard and go to access here and you can reset it. And what'll happen when you do that is it'll shut down your droplet and then send you a new root password. And then you can log in with that new password and reset it again. So the first thing I'm going to do is sudo apt-get update. And this is going to update our package repositories. And then I'm going to run sudo apt-get upgrade. That's going to install any upgrades or updates to software that we need. All right. So let's go back and look at our checklist here. So we're logged in as root. Now we need to create a new user. And you definitely want to do this. So we need to say add user. And it asks for a new password. It asks for a lot of the stuff that you don't necessarily need. Okay, we've got a new user installed. And now we also need to give this user sudo privileges. So in order to do that, we need to say usermod-a capital G and then sudo and then that user's name. And we do that now then, we should be able to log in with SSH with that user instead of root. And then with that password we just gave. And now I'm logged in, so you can type who am I, and you see I'm Jack, I'm not root anymore. But I should be able to do something like so now then, if you look, I'm logged in as root because I did sudo and then switched user to root. All right, we're moving along well. Let's go ahead and keep rolling here. So we did that. Now we can add public key authentication. I'm not going to do that right this second. Public key authentication is where you can copy your SSH key from your local machine to the server. And then when you log in with SSH, you don't have to type in a password. That's fine. I usually set that up, but for sake of this, I'm not going to. I'll just put in my password when I do. So let's see what's next. Now I'm not going to disable password authentication. If I had put the SSH key over there, I might do that. And I will probably come back and do this at some point. We've already got the, we've already tested the login, so we're up to the firewall. So we can say sudo ufw app list. Alright, and we got available applications, open SSH. So we need to make sure that the firewall allows SSH connections so that we can log back in next time. So we'll just say sudo ufw, and ufw stands for uncomplicated firewall. So we're going to allow open SSH. And then we're going to enable the firewall. So we're just going to say sudo ufw enable. Okay, and now it's active and enabled on startup. So if we type ufw status, you see here the only ports that are open is open SSH. And that pretty much that's the basic setup. Now we need to move on and do some more. We need to install Node. We need to install MongoDB and some things like that. So now we've got our basic droplet setup done. Let's move on and install MongoDB. So I'm going to type DigitalOcean and then just install MongoDB 16.04. Alright, and you see here our first hit, how to install MongoDB on Ubuntu 16.04. So we're going to click on that and we're going to look through here and see what we've got to do. So we've got to add the MongoDB repository. And a lot of these commands are laid out in very great detail. So I am logged in here as Jack. We can say, who am I to see? Now we need to add the key for that repository. So I'm going to copy that line and I'm going to paste it in here and just hit return. It's going to ask for my password. Alright, and that added the key for the repository. And you see here we get total number processed and imported, and this is what it matches up to what it should be here. So then we're going to come on and it says issue the following command to create a list file for MongoDB. So I'm going to copy this line. And then we'll come back here and we'll paste it in. And hit return. And that's done. Now after we do that, we need to do an apt-get update. And hit return, and this is going to update our packages. Once that's done, we need to go ahead and install MongoDB. And we just do this command here, sudo apt-get install -y mongodb.org. And then that's done. Alright, so now then we've got that installed. It says here that in order to properly launch MongoDB as a service, we need to additionally create a unit file describing the service. And this unit file just tells systemd how to manage a resource. So we come here and actually I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use vim. So I need to say sudo vim etc systemd system mongodb .service. Now this is a new file, so we need to grab the contents right here, copy it, and then we need to paste that into this file. So I need to hit I to go to insert, and then I'm going to paste those lines in there. And then I'm going to hit escape, :WQ to write and then quit, and that saved that file. And if we want to look here, this just describes everything. This is what the system needs to fire it up on boot. Alright, so I'm going to get back out of that, and let's move on here. So now we need to try to fire it up. So we can say sudo system control start MongoDB and hit return. Now that doesn't show anything. Okay, if we do ps ax and then a pipe and then grep and then Mongo, you see here we've got this process number 3010 running, and it's MongoD, which is the Mongo daemon. It's running, and our config is running under etc mongodb.conf. So we can also do sudo system control status MongoDB, and that will show us the status. You can see here it's active and running. So we have MongoDB running. Now the last step is we've got to set this to automatically fire up when the system starts. So to do that, we're going to say sudo system control enable MongoDB, and that enables MongoDB to fire up on startup. Now adjusting the firewall, we don't need to do that. The reason being is because we're not going to connect to MongoDB from outside. Our Node app is going to be the only thing that connects to it, and that's going to do it's going to connect through localhost, and you don't need a firewall route for that. If our Node process was running on a different server or something, then you would need to adjust the firewall to allow Mongo traffic in and out. But the way we're doing it, it's all going to be running on the same server, so we don't need it. So we can just skip over that part for now. So that takes care of that. So this video is already getting up over 15 minutes, so I think I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. And we'll go ahead and turn this into a two-part series on spinning up our droplet. So in the next one, we'll go ahead and take a look at installing Node and getting our prerequisites set up and everything for that. So go ahead and jump over to the next one and we'll take care of that.